I shouldn't say this out loud. Maybe we cut this out, but like, it's just so revolting. It's like it's almost like extra punishment for being hungover.
Yeah.
Is the smell of alcohol in your shit.
Oh.
It's like, and you have to sit there until you're done. But you're like, this is painful. Like everybody likes their own brand, as they say, but that's not the same.
It's not the same. And you might be able to see that the weather in Ireland is uncharacteristically pleasant.
Pleasant is a good way to put it.
And it has been for the last week.
And plans to be for the next 10 days, at least that's the forecast I can see.
What is going on? We're going to have 2 years of fucking hurricanes or something.
Well, I reckon this is our entire summer that we're having in April.
Well, yeah, that could be the case. That could be the case. But Emma got off work early yesterday, which sometimes happens in the film industry.
Yes.
But yeah, she got off and she was just ready for cocktails. She was like, "It's on."
It's on.
So then the minute she got on, and I'm obviously out of work at the minute, waiting on the next job. So she was like, "Okay, come on, we're going for cocktails." And then
out of work's a weird way to put that. It makes it sound like it wasn't planned or something.
Yeah, but whenever you say between jobs, people kind of think.
Then they read between the lines and think you're trying to put it up, but you're literally between jobs.
Yeah, I am between jobs. But if you say between jobs, people think that you're like just
down on your luck. Yeah.
So I feel like if you say out of work, it's more accurate because I am. I'm not, I'm not working at the minute. But it's just one of those weird things as well because I don't really. It was so busy last year, and whenever we work, it's like 70 to 80 hours a week you're kind of putting on
because you're doing 3 months at a time.
You're doing your whole week's work, which is normally about 60 hours that you're clocking, but then you're also getting in there like a half hour to an hour early every day and
set up and get
by the time that you're like traveling there, traveling back, if you're out on location, and also whenever I'm working, I'm away from home all the time, so you're basically from a Sunday morning until a Friday night, you're at work, you're gone. Yeah. So yeah, it's just so full on, and last year was so full on that we basically didn't stop the whole year, and it's like doing
I remember.
It's like doing 2 years worth of work inside 1 year, and you just kind of burn out a little bit.
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, whenever we finished, I don't really want to be chasing work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you kind of have to be chasing work, or if you're not in it, you end up kind of out of it, or people don't phone you up because they sort of forget about you. So there's just a constant worry, I suppose.
That it dries up forever.
Yeah, it's great for a couple of weeks, and then it hits like week 3 or week 4, and you go, "Oh, I'm never going to work again." And I'm trying to busy myself and remind myself that whenever I am working, I do so much that on the time off. But I don't let myself enjoy it. Emma gives out to me about it as well. She's able to enjoy it. She's quite happy to just like sit and just do nothing or play video games or just enjoy the house. And I can't really do that. I feel guilty. So I don't. Anyway, she got off early, and the sun was splitting the sky, and we just went out and basically went from bar to bar as the sun moved. And outside,
you moved with it.
We moved with it, just the different bars where we could sit outside in the sun. So there's a few too many cocktails.
A few too many. Why were you drinking cocktails this entire time?
No, I started out on cider because I like a little cider.
I love a cider in the sun. I agree with that.
So I started on a cider, and Emma got a dark and stormy. But the poor young fella who made it, they didn't know how to make a dark and stormy. He completely fluffed it.
Don't put it on the menu if you don't know how to do it.
They didn't have it on the menu.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Retract my statement.
He asked what.
Fair play to him for trying.
Yeah. He asked what's in it. We were like, like a dark rum and ginger beer and lime juice and butters. But the ratios were all over the place. He used like lime cordial, and it was basically like a rum and lime cordial with a splash of ginger beer on top and a couple of bitters. So
probably sounds alright though. It doesn't sound
more
terrible.
Like a rum sour, than
it sounds alright.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
It's not dark and stormy, but it still sounded okay. Yeah.
But so then we kind of went in search of like the best dark and stormy. We worked through the bars in Derry, and yeah, it was just fucking too many.
Did you have a consensus of what was the best dark and stormy? Or was it the last one because you were sloshed enough that it was great?
The Blackbird. No,
Blackbird?
The Blackbird in Derry, I think, is where we got the nicest one. And I think that includes Oh no, we tried to get into the Bishopsgate Hotel. They have one up there, but they were just jam packed.
Really?
Full, yeah, rammed.
They have no outside park though, surely.
No, that we were going to be inside on that, but you kind of lost
That's
the
a
sun. by
weird
that
place
point.
to be rammed on a
Yeah.
sunny day.
I don't understand it. But and then afterwards we went home, and I thought that we had everything that we needed for having rum and coke, which is just rum and coke.
Yep. I was waiting for some sort of like revelation here of like, what else do we need?
We had no rum, so I had to have whiskey and coke then when I went home. And then Emma,
You were drinking whiskey?
yeah.
Did you not?
I'm okay on whiskey these days.
These days, okay.
I've chosen a life of peace.
Face.
Sometimes I can turn into an asshole, but I don't go scrapping people or anything.
For context, like, I never drink vodka. And again, I can now, and I have a life of peace as well. But when I was younger, it was exactly the same. My vodka was your whiskey. You drank whiskey, you got uppity, and I drank vodka, I got uppity.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
not uppity. I
but
think,
vodka was your choice of drink, and whiskey was mine. So we were never sharing drinks.
I know. But even before that, like, between the ages of 15 and 21, I don't think I ever drank whiskey and didn't end up in a fist fight. Like, not once.
Once.
And then after the age of 21, I just got real, like, just turned into an asshole on it.
Sour.
It just,
You were the whiskey sour.
yeah, I was the whiskey sour. Yeah. But I think it's maybe just to do with the headspace that you're in, or maybe it's because your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. I don't know. But
I don't know
these
either,
days,
yeah.
I seem to be able to just drink it and be fine. Maybe it's also the quality of the whiskey.
That's a very big difference, I think.
Yeah, that could be it. I don't know. I'm not sure what the underlying source is, but I can have a little whiskey at home, and it's quite pleasant.
As a treat.
And I think that I remain reasonably pleasant.
And nobody's told you
Maybe
otherwise.
need to ask Emma.
You would be told if you weren't. No, you wouldn't get that. That
No,
wouldn't slide.
Emma wouldn't dance around me. She would say, "You were a fucking asshole last night." So, yeah, I think I'm okay on it. But who knows? Maybe that could change. Maybe it just is a headspace. Maybe I'm in a better headspace now
I
than
don't
when I
know,
was a
because-
teenager.
I could swear, there must be some sort of body chemistry situation that happens, especially when I was younger as well. Because I drank almost exclusively spirits. Like, it was just, I liked spirits, and I drank gin straight for quite a while when I was like a teenager. It was awful. And, so on and so forth with vodka. And I would just be like, normal, crazy, happy Nathan. And then I'd have vodka. And maybe it's like a subconscious predisposition where it happened once that I got like in a fight when I was drinking vodka, and then I think I blame the vodka, so the next time I've got an excuse. It might be like that.
You know what? That's a very good point, because the first time that I really drank whiskey, I drank a full bottle of Powers whiskey, which is cheap.
What are we talking about? A full bottle, like a quarter bottle, half bottle, or a liter, or
No, like a liter. Not a liter, 70
750.
70 cent a liter or whatever.
75 centiliter. No, 70 it is. You're right. Sorry.
But so I drank that, but I went
Oof.
into town. I was 16 years old. I was going out with. I had a very volatile relationship at the time, and the girl knew how to push my buttons, and so I was in town, and we were up the walls drinking, where everyone goes.
I was probably there.
Yeah, hundreds of teenagers all getting drunk and getting up to no good. But so she was, being very flirty with guys, and doing all this kind of stuff, and trying to sort of goad me into stuff, and then her friend who was like in love with her, the guy.
Okay.
So the guy was kind of taking the piss out of me, and winding me up, and she had just cheated on me before this as well. Like that week, she had just cheated on me, and so whenever he was like taking the piss out of me for it, and then I just seen red and got into a fight with him, and then there was like it was in the middle of their group, so there was like 7 or 8 of his friends jumped on top of me, and
God Almighty,
it turned into a whole thing. And then later on that night, she was like storming off up the road, and there was a little chav guy who's quite a well-known scumbaggy kind of guy. And then, as she was storming off, he came over, and then, she started screaming at him. So then I ran up and decked him. And then the next thing, me and him's fighting. I think I broke his nose when I tagged him, and then we were fighting. His friend ran over and grabbed a bottle of is it Freshino or Lambrini or one of those.
Lambrini was one of my
One of
favorites
those
yet.
big.
That's a big
bottles.
bottle, yeah. That's a sturdy bottle.
Grabbed one of those, smashed it off the wall, and then came at me like it was going to glass me. And my dad just appeared out of nowhere, just like.
I have a dad appeared out of nowhere story as well on the walls, which is funny.
I think he knew that I was going out with the intention of getting myself in trouble. So he kind of was up keeping one eye on things, and my dad's a really cool looking guy. He's got the long hair. He had me when he was like 16 years old, so he kind of can blend in.
Just
with
so
all
it doesn't
the
seem like Niall's being like overly fond of his dad, and like just like his dad's not actually that cool. It's just because it's his dad. His dad actually is pretty cool.
Yeah. So he was up there
and
just,
looks at exactly.
He was up there just kind of lurking around in the shadows in a hoodie, and everybody just presumed that he was just one of the people up there. And then once I was about to get myself killed, he just appears out of nowhere, fucking pins the guy down with one hand, grabs me with the other hand, and then separates me from the other guy, and the other guy punched him and busted my dad's nose. So then my dad grabbed him and pinned him, but because he was a grown man, he couldn't beat up his kid. So he was sort of pinning him down, and then my friends were like, he busted Big Niall's nose, and next thing they run on and start beating him from the other side. But I was so blind drunk on whiskey that I thought that it was a guy coming in and hitting my dad on the other side. So I got up, so like, don't hit my dad. I dived over the top. My dad had pinned down the other guy's right, and I dived over him, pinned my best mate to the ground, and started hitting him. And he was like, Niall, it's me. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. And I wanted to fight everybody up there. My dad grabbed me, dragged me off, and threw me in the back. Threw me in the back of his Jeep and drove off.
I often romanticize our like times on the walls as kids, and like I wouldn't want it for my children because it's like scary and weird. But like I romanticize it and like those were fun times. It was crazy, and I enjoyed that sort of wildness of it all. Mm-hmm. But like you couldn't pay me to be 16 again. Oh, man. They're just the absolute bullshit that comes with
hormones
being a teenager, exactly, and rough. That's rough stuff.
But then, that's as I say, I've chosen a life of peace. Like, I couldn't swing a punch anymore. Like I haven't been in a fight since I was 21. Like that was the last time. So that's like
that's a good run.
Yeah, it's a good 15 years of not ever getting into any trouble.
Last time I was in a fist fight was probably I was like 23.
Yeah.
So.
Like once my daughter was born, I was like, right, well, I could actually go to jail for like if I get in a fight, or like
because you're a hard man, you'd kill somebody like.
Yeah. Well, all it takes is literally one punch,
one wrong punch, or one right punch, whatever you look at it.
If someone falls over, hits their head, and then they're dead, or the other way, you could be killed quite easily by just one stray fucking.
That's it.
You just stumble backwards,
hit your head in the right place. That's it.
So,
or your neck, or your back.
It's not worth it. It's not worth.
It never has been.
It never has been.
It never has been. But I very, very, very. I've only been like four fights in my entire life.
Sometimes it is worth getting in a fight. Some things are worth getting in a fist fight for, but most things aren't.
Most things aren't.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be getting in fist fights in your daily life.
No, you're the problem here.
A handful of times in your life, you probably need to resort to physical violence.
Yeah.
Over like a 70-year span.
Exactly. So. Like a handful over 70 years feels like a right amount. Not none. Yeah. None is not a right amount, like you said.
I think you always have to be ready to resort to violence, but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, yeah.
That's my belief on it. That's probably not very PC. A lot of people say, "Oh, you should never."
No, I think I disagree, and especially like it's not like when it's an even match more than anything else.
Yeah, don't punch down. Like,
exactly, never punch down.
Fight a fucking person in a wheelchair or like.
Why did you go there?
Don't like beat up a fucking 7-year-old. Like,
There's no.
If it's evenly matched, or if it's someone who's coming at you with aggression, or or if you're having to defend someone who is in that position.
Yes, that's even more important at that point. Yeah. Speaking of fighting, though, so one of my topics we talked last time about my habits and my routine, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the other one that's very, very, very consistent with me is watching wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, since I was a kid, I've watched wrestling. Obviously, like since I was a 9-year-old or whatever, we all did back then in the 90s, like
The 90s.
Stone Cold and The Rock
90s.
and all that.
The golden age of wrestling, I would say.
Yeah, I agree to an extent, but I've changed my views on that in some ways. Just and like they always say, like things like your favorite things are when you were a teenager. Your favorite things are when you were this. And for wrestling, because it's got that sort of pantomime quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the more common things in wrestling is that your favorite wrestling is when you were 10 years old. That's the best one.
I understand that. And full disclosure, I don't really watch wrestling.
Of course not.
The most that I know about wrestling is that every year when I was a teenager, I used to go to my friend Killian's house to watch WrestleMania with him, just because it was an excuse for me to go and get fucking paneled
and not even watch it,
and not even really watch it. I was out, chasing sheep in the fucking field while he was watching WrestleMania kind of thing. And then the N64 game, the Nintendo
awesome.
64 game, WCW versus NWO.
Yep.
Was that it?
That was exactly the one. That was an awesome
Absolute
game.
Banger of a game.
Days of that, like
Banger of a game. They had ninjas and everything on it. Like, I don't know if I was an actual. I don't think I was a real wrestler. Was I a real wrestler?
WCW was wild. Towards the end, especially. So there's like I could talk for literal days on.
And there was a ninja.
There was, there was multiple.
Oh, that's so good.
I could talk for days upon days upon days.
Sell me wrestling.
Just like you said about WrestleMania, like so. Let me give you a very, very brief history of like what's happened with wrestling in general. So back then, WCW and WWF, that was like the Monday Night Wars era because they were both doing the Jerry Springer type shock value stuff.
Yeah,
like that was like the boom of that for wrestling in general. That's where wrestling
because they were all like, "Oh, I got your girlfriend backstage here," and all
like nightgown matches for women and like very misogynistic, very very awful in lots of ways. But it was two companies against each other. They were trying to outdo each other. So that was like the big thing. And that was what made good TV is the competition more than anything else because they were trying to one-up each other.
And I'll be honest, I don't necessarily disagree with nightgown matches, If you know your target demographic.
Well, 100%. But it's more...
It's like calling OnlyFans misogynistic.
I'll get to the reasoning, though.
The girls aren't getting forced.
It's not that they were forced to do it. It's that was the only women's wrestling that existed. That was the point.
Oh, okay. Right.
There was no like serious women's wrestling really at that period in time.
Okay, because I always thought that there were women in wrestling.
Oh yeah, of course there are. But for that period of time specifically, they existed entirely to be like eye candy, as opposed to being athletes. There was some really like talented, like athletically women's wrestlers who were not like ever got pushed or got I'm gonna stop using wrestling terminology for a second. That never got like any spotlight because like they weren't conventionally attractive, and instead they're hiring models to do this and like in terms of the sport of wrestling, it was
the technical, because there is a lot of technical ability in it.
Oh, and I'll get to that now in a minute. But yes, so that was where good TV happened. That's where like the big boom of wrestling happened at the time. And then WWF, which is now WWE because of the World Wildlife Foundation way back in the day, they bought WCW. WCW went out of business. WWF bought them, and from the year 2001 until pretty much 2019, there was a monopoly on wrestling, which was WWE.
Yeah.
And I watched it like all the way through, even when it was at its absolute bog standard worst. I watched it because it's like wrestling's the only thing that's on, like apart from the news and Coronation Street, literally every week of the year. It doesn't have an off season. It doesn't like stop for a couple months. It's literally every week there's wrestling, and it's a continual story. So it's really good for a routine, so to speak, for me.
That monopoly, that's quite bad for a lot of, because I remember there was a whole thing with Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, wasn't there? Where they had a falling out because Hulk Hogan was going and doing shows in Japan or something.
No, he went to WCW. He left. WCW went to left WWF and went to WCW. That was their big falling out because that was the competition. He really like kickstarted in some ways the competition. Hulk Hogan did.
Right.
because he was on his like he'd really done pretty much everything he could do in WWF. It was the right move for him. More money, blah 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 blah. But so that monopoly really caused a lot of problems in terms of like they're still going to have wrestling fans forever because it's a big thing. But like the quality dipped in such a dramatic fashion over the years that like it got to the stage that like, as a lifelong wrestling fan, I completely stopped watching wrestling in 2018 because it got so boring. I was like so bored.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I haven't got back into WWE. And apparently, it's got a lot better. I read about it. I know what's going on. I just can't bring myself to watch it because of
Am I wrong? You went to WrestleMania last year?
No, you see, this is where this is why I wanted to explain that part.
Okay.
So then 2019 came in. There was a new wrestling company that had a lot of money. I'm not going to all the technicalities of it, but it's
Is this like some Arab sheik or something that's like started his own wrestling company?
No, it's the owner of the Fulham football team owns wrestling. Owns this wrestling company as well, and like an American football company.
Okay. And who is this person?
Tony Khan, he's called.
Right.
He's a billionaire, you know.
Okay.
He likes wrestling.
Buys up things.
He's like our age. He loves wrestling, and he really, because he's also like the creative person. He writes it all. He books it all. It's nice. He doesn't just own it. He's like he's in it. Just like you said about WCW. There's a game from way back in the early 2000s that's still going. It was like you remember like Football Manager. It's like that where you like did your own wrestling. Sure, you didn't actually fight and play the game. You were like, you were the manager, like making all the matches and stuff.
Yeah.
And like people have found posts from this guy from like 2003 about his little wrestling, which is awesome. I love that.
And now he owns.
I know he's like he owns the main competition.
Actually, yeah.
So he's the main competition to WWE, and that's the one I watch. It's on every Wednesday night, every Saturday night, and there's a pay-per-view.
What's it called? Do you want to plug it?
AEW. It's called
AEW. Okay.
It doesn't need plugged. Like at this point, it's on Warner Brothers, so it's on Max in America. It's like one of their main things.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
It's a big deal. But that one's all about. It's way more about athleticism, like actual technical wrestling. So when this monopoly was happening, 2001 onwards, a whole load of like little tiny wrestling companies popped up that were like way more technical and like smaller guys, not like because the big thing with WWE for a long time was like
beef up steroids,
big beefy boys, like big tall. It doesn't matter how good they actually are at wrestling or like technical. It's not Cirque du Soleil. It's more like a bodybuilding show. You know what I mean? Yeah. With like bad storylines, but. First, like I can go on and on about wrestling. I'm not going to go too far on it, but that's just sort of a brief history of where we're at. That's what I watch now. Is like religiously for the last like 6 years. I've been watching every single Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day, whenever it's on, and I'm super invested in it. Like it makes me happy every week. I look forward to it every week. But just like you said about WrestleMania party with your friends, this is the reason I don't invite people to watch things with me because I really want to actually watch it. Yeah. I
don't even want me out trying to chase the sheep.
Not even that. It's like even if you were to come over and be silent, I would feel awkward. Yeah. Even if you were quiet, I'd be awkward because I'd feel like I have to entertain you and not like focus on what I want to do. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I really want to watch it myself. I enjoy it that much. But it's so hard to explain to somebody who doesn't watch wrestling, like why I could, like a person like me, because people don't expect me to be big into wrestling, even with all my other quirks and nonsense. It's like a thing that sort of throws people off, like,
See, I would very much have been like, Nate seems like a wrestling...
A big wrestlehead. Well, and... Oh, maybe you've clocked me correctly, but most people don't expect anybody to be in wrestling. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's sort of like it's still got that stigma that video games had maybe 15, 20 years ago, even like more being for kids.
Because WWE turned PG. Now it's very much a kids thing in their heads because that's what WWE has got a little weird and like not PG anymore, but like it's not. But anyway. I love it. My kids don't watch it. I try and make them watch it. They don't get into it. So it's not about the kids. Like normally I could fall back on excuses like that with things, but nope, not in this one.
No.
I have very few friends that watch wrestling, again, I very rarely even talk to them about it. Again, why I love Reddit because they have this community. I don't even post anything. I just like read what everybody else is thinking. I just enjoy that. But really, like at the core of it, you've been to a couple of like really small time wrestling shows, and I actually enjoy those quite a lot because it is.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
If you go to one of those, and like I've my sister, who never has watched wrestling in her life, she's like 21, for her birthday, I've sent her a wrestling show next week, this night next week. She doesn't know what it is yet. It's like a secret that she's going to it. I got you tickets for something. You have to bring a friend. I'll tell you more about it back at the time. It's part of the fun of it.
That's a very brave
choice of present.
Yeah,
it's the relationship we have that I can do things like this. Okay. It sounds like I'm just forcing my beliefs on her.
Yeah,
I just know she's going to have a good time and never think about it again. That's okay, because it is a good time.
Yeah,
everybody's like, it's a pantomime. You boo the bad guys and you cheer the good guys, and you scream and shout and you have a bit of crack.
Maybe I might look, and they going to a couple more live ones, because the last one that I seen live was actually Comic-Con. So we went
even
to,
better.
Was it Dublin? No, I don't think it was a Dublin Comic-Con. I think it was Belfast Comic-Con.
And there was live wrestling at it. That's awesome.
And there was live wrestling at it, yeah. But then the sort of main guys who were there to do the wrestling, who seemed very good at what they were doing, but it was overshadowed because it was right before like Elijah Wood and all these like
big heavyweights.
A lot of these people from Lord of the Rings were having like a sit down Q&A and talking about things, and so everybody was kind of trying to get their seats over there for that.
So they were leaving
particularly me and Emma, because we love Lord of the Rings. Of course. We were like, I'm not standing around watching these guys. I'm going over there. So I don't think they had as much of an audience as they probably should have had.
All that is to say, like, wrestling's quite a lot of fun live, especially, and live wrestling is really where the most fun is. Like, you can't have a bad time anywhere, but if you go in with the idea of having a good time, you're always going to have a good time in a wrestling show, because it's just infectious. There's always people who know what's going on, so you can sort of follow the crowd as opposed to having to understand it, so on and so forth. But with like AEW, which is what I watch, there's just so many, like, because they have a weekly TV show, they used to do like almost anime level story arcs over like years. So the big one right now, well, one of the big ones right now, is a guy called Swerve Strickland. And he's like cool as fuck. Like, he's a rapper as well, like in real life. Like, he has, and he hangs out with like some really big wig rappers, and he's like a really cool guy. Yeah, but he's like one of the main characters.
He's got a good name as well.
Yeah. He's got a great song. It's a whole thing, but he's like, it's very anime, these two. Then there's this other guy called Hangman Adam Page, who everybody considers the main character of this TV show, so to speak. Over the last like 6 years, he was there at the start, and he continues. Like, his story arc has been so, and he's a great actor as well, so it really helps. And they're both amazing wrestlers, like unbelievable. Like, you watch some of their stuff, it's crazy, and like you wouldn't believe it. And like, there's a Cirque du Soleil aspect of this wrestling more than anything else, because it's just beyond just the athleticism of it. There's the athleticism part, which is like unbelievable, some of the things these guys can do. And then there's like the sort of like a ballet situation where like they're telling, like, actually can follow an actual story through the fighting, as opposed to like they say words and then they fight. Yeah, it's like through the actual match, you could, like, they're telling a story of like, what's going to happen or what has happened, and it's amazing. But anyway, these two guys, just to give you a brief rundown, like, they're both like former world champions at this point. Okay, and like the first thing they started like getting into each other, as in like hating each other and feuding with each other. And at this point, Swerve was the bad guy and Hangman Adam Page was the good guy. Yeah. So Swerve broke into his house. Like, this is obviously storyline. Yeah. Broke into his house and like takes video of him doing it, and like looking at his baby's, because he had a newborn baby, like looking at his baby's crib and like, telling him how dangerous he is, pretty much, how close he can get to his family and all, and this, like, that action of that doing that, it's so funny how they did this, because it sounds so stupid, but when you watch it, it was so organic over the course of weeks. Yeah, that action made Hangman Adam Page go pretty crazy, and somehow
you're getting so invested here.
No, I know, but somehow in the midst of this, they swap roles where Swerve becomes the good guy, even though he broke into this guy's house, but because he's become so unhinged and like it's such a like a crazy guy, Adam Page. He becomes the bad guy, and he burns down. And there's this whole storyline where Swerve buys his like childhood home, like, and it's like they did like a video package. It felt like such a real thing. Like it felt like a really like a fluff piece. Like, now I'm world champion. I was able to, I've got enough money to buy the home that my mom like gave birth to me in, and and it was like you didn't think anything of it. And then at the end of that episode, it's just Hangman at the house with his camera and like pouring gasoline all over it. And then there's this amazing visual of him sitting on a deck chair out the front of this house that's entirely engulfed in flames. Like, it was just such a good thing. I'll show you that later on, because it's such a good shot, and it wasn't special effects. They literally burned a house to make this happen. Like, there's backstage footage and stuff you can see of it. But
because I was going to say, like, I can be quite critical of like TV fires. I see how they did that.
And then, like, so it's just, and so this is like their storyline, and everybody's eating this up, because like they're now like absolute enemies, because like they hate each other for good reason. They both did some pretty awful things, to each other. And it was just this last week where they haven't interacted really properly in 8 months at this point. They're doing their own things in different directions. And just this past week, they interacted again, and like, it was so stupid. It's so stupid to say it like this, but anyway, they're like now on a story arc of now they're potentially having some sort of reconciliation, and everybody's like super stoked about that, because one of the tropes in wrestling, when people hate each other, eventually they become best friends. Like, that's just how it always is going to go. And they might go hate each other again after that, but at some point they're like a team. Well,
I like that. That's a nice bit of plot, isn't it? Friends become enemies, enemies become friends.
Exactly. But all is to say, like, I'm not going to try and sell you on watching wrestling with me, like on a weekly basis, or anybody listening. And I'm not going. I know I'm not going to. No. That being said, I think that for some of the time of the last 20 years, wrestling has really propped up the heavy metal industry, which you should be appreciative of.
Yeah. I mean,
these guys are getting paid.
Like Alter Bridge. Metalingus was like just one of the best songs ever.
It's still their theme tune. It's still the thing.
Yeah, but I didn't know that it was a wrestling theme tune whenever I heard it. Because I just heard it through listening to Alter Bridge and listening to heavy metal. But I mean, there's so many. I think Godsmack do they do a lot as well?
They do. Definitely heard of Godsmack through wrestling.
But, I don't really know what heavy metal is in wrestling and what isn't, because I just know the heavy metal.
Exactly. It's funny, because that's why I'm saying it'd be fun for you to like hear, like watch the show, and then you'd be like, oh, there's that song. I just thought that was. I'm the opposite. I think that's just a wrestling theme song that somebody wrote for that wrestler, and then you turn out to be like, oh, that's actually like one of my favorite songs that I didn't know was in wrestling.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because like you kind of mentioned that sometimes it's like anime themed, or very much like anime themed, but like the storylines are a little bit like that. And like I'm big into anime. I watch a good bit of it, and a big part of it for me is all of the intro music and outro music, and like every few episodes they change. Like, they don't just have the same
all the time.
Yeah, it's like every 4 or 5 episodes they'll have a new intro, or well, not all of them, but a lot of them. They'll like change the intros, change the outros, so you get all these different songs by a lot of the times it's like very well established artists in Japan. You go and you realize they got number ones in Japan all over the place. But the music is just so good.
But here's a great example. So one of the big characters in AEW, Kenny Omega, his most recent theme tune was written by the guy who wrote the Final Fantasy theme tune.
Nobuo Uematsu?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or maybe let me just clarify exactly that. There's some relation there. Now I've said it out loud, I'm like, no, I can't follow up as being 100%
so once
correct.
I knew the guy's name, you're like, oh shit.
Let me look it up. I'll tell you now. No, I knew it wouldn't just throw. But
it could be, now Nobuo Uematsu doesn't do a lot of the modern Final Fantasy music, so it could be a different guy. But he's the guy who wrote a lot of the original music for it.
The intro is both from Omega, it's from Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, okay.
Masayoshi Soken.
Okay.
Do you know that person?
No, I don't know him.
That's who it is.
I've never really played very much Final Fantasy 14 because it's an online.
Yeah,
It's like an MMORPG.
He is Final Fantasy composer. Yeah, that's who he is. So that's what I'm saying. But like he's a big deal in Japan because there's a big wrestling's big in Japan. Is the other thing.
Oh,
and
yeah, because that's what I was saying. I knew about Hulk Hogan going to Japan to wrestle. And stuff.
Wrestling's always been big in Japan, but it's like it's always been a little more hard hitting and less storyline driven, and it really is like, and it's like Mexico, and like that's what I love. Once I get into these things more, once you like go down the rabbit holes, like.
Do you mean like luchador?
Lucha Libre is a big part of Mexican culture, and it's like really, it's enriched in like real weird like superstition, and it's like really revered in a way that wrestling never was in America. And like Hulk Hogan's massive. Obviously, everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is. But in Japan, there's a guy called Antonio Inoki who he fought Muhammad Ali. It's a big like, but he would be like way more popular in general in Japan than Hulk Hogan ever was in America, and that's really that's saying something because everybody knows Hulk Hogan, but this guy was like revered and everybody knew him and everybody looked up to him. And he would never said anything racist or anything, so a good plus on Hulk Hogan. He never claimed he was the basis for Metallica.
I heard Hulk Hogan say that. I don't know what the racist thing is.
Oh, that's like a whole big part of his like the last 20 years of Hulk Hogan. He did this whole. His daughter was dating a black fella.
Okay,
and somebody like recorded like a private conversation in his home where he's like says some really bad stuff, and that got out. That was like 2010. I want to say it was really it was a long time ago. This TMZ got that out, and then everybody jumped on that. But it's just Hulk Hogan's like, I think, in the funniest way possible, the biggest liar that has ever existed in popular media.
Oh man,
the amount of lies
he's
that
been
boy
caught out so many times.
He doesn't even care. He doesn't even care. It's the best part. He doesn't even care. He just says the most outlandish shit that there's no way you wouldn't get away with saying. Like again, like he claimed it was meant to be the basis for Metallica. They asked him first, and he said no. And like obviously Metallica's going to go, that just didn't happen. And they did, and rightfully so. There's so many. I could do a series of podcasts on the lives of Hulk Hogan just alone.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we should
just do a listicle. Just list. I feel like it's very similar to Donald Trump, where he kind of just says things, but he throws it out just so. It's the kind of thing where you go, why would someone even lie about that? It's got to be true, because why would you lie about it?
One step further, Donald Trump was in WrestleMania first of all.
Okay. I think I knew
2008.
Yeah.
I think, but Donald Trump's whole campaign is just wrestling. It's all wrestling tropes. It's all wrestling, like in the saying the wild shit and and saying shit just for the sake of getting cheered or booed, and creating a character and playing it and stuff. I'm not sure if it is a character. I'm not trying to defend him in that way, but I'm saying like if you watch wrestling to such a degree and then you follow that along, you can just see like he has just picked up on so many like things from wrestling that like it's so easy to get people riled up, especially like big crowds of people in one go. It's so easy to do that, but like there's nuances in wrestling to do it like a very specific way.
I think that's such an interesting way of looking at it, because I don't really have any strong feelings for or against Donald Trump. Like everybody seems to be very polarized by him. They either love him or they hate him. I think some things that he does are good and some things that he does are really bad. Like just a couple of days ago he released those tariffs. I don't know if you know anything about them.
I know a little bit, but not enough to have an informed opinion.
But I think it's so interesting that you say that it's similar to the wrestling kind of hype, because the tariffs that he brought out, and he had like the list of the tariffs that get imposed on America, and it's just complete lies. And then I seen they released the equation of how they worked it out, and it's got nothing to do with tariffs that people place on America at all. It's like the trade deficit divided by the total US imports. So basically it just gives you like whether or not the people buy more stuff from America, or if America buys more stuff from the other country.
Right.
So say you know, somewhere that's like a really poor country that can't buy anything from America.
Vietnam.
Like Vietnam or Cambodia. And they can't buy anything from America, but they sell loads of stuff to America. And then it says that they have like 70% tariffs on America because it's just the trade imbalance. It's because they buy 70% more stuff from America than what America buys from them. And they're like, oh, they've got a 70% tariff on us, so we're putting a 35% tariff on them. It's just a 35% tariff for no reason. So, but it's like, they made it out as if, oh yeah, these countries are all, they're killing America, they're putting all these tariffs on America. And it's not.
Just lies, it's just lies.
It's just not at all.
But the thing that I really liked about it, liked is the wrong word, but you know, we're pattern recognizing people are in general. But I always look for, like, especially when I see a set of numbers and they don't go in any sort of order, I go, okay, so there's a different reason for that. So then I look at the list of countries to see if they're in alphabetical order, so that's why. But when he released this list, with
China at the top, then EU.
But there was no rhyme or reason to what order they were in, and I was like, surely somebody had some sort of control over why they had this order? Because even then, like, Vietnam's like third or something, so it's not like it's a really in context important country like China or EU or, you know, UK or whatever it would be. It's like, cause like you say, they don't buy anything from America. So it was just such a, that was my favorite part of it, was looking at it going, there's no coherence.
No.
I love it.
It's so bizarre.
It's just like wild.
Because even at that, I kind of tried to look at it and go, right, well, maybe it is for the trade imbalance. They're trying to say, right, well, instead of us buying things from outside of America, we want to make the stuff in America and have America making things for American people. And I understand the process of that. But then all of the countries that had a 10%, you know, it said a 10% tariff that they put on America, those were actually the countries where the equation that they were using didn't work, because those countries buy more stuff from America than what America buys from them. So, for example, the UK. Yeah. So the UK buys more American stuff than what America buys from the UK. So that would end up with like a negative percentage on that tariff. You know, the way that they were working
10%, just slap 10% in there.
Instead of putting the negative number on, they're like, oh, we're just going to say that it's 10% tariff that they've got on it. So they just made it up. And they just said, right, they got a 10% tariff on us, so we're going to put a 10% tariff on them.
Perfect example. Perfect example. So WrestleMania we talked about, right? And every WrestleMania since the start, they've come out and said what the attendance is in the building, right? Every single time. Yeah. So it's part of like the thing that they do at WrestleMania. Every single time they've done that, it's been inflated by like 25% for no reason at all. Like, no rhyme or reason. They include like security guards and stuff that are being paid to be there. They include people that are out in the parking lot attendants that aren't even be able to watch the show. They include the most random things, and then they add people that don't exist on there as well. They just make shit up, and then like, unabashedly, they'll like they say, like, no question, like they just say, yeah, it's made up. It's for the show. Yeah. There's 90,000 people here, and the building seats like 84 or something at max capacity, which it was not. And like, that's a great, like, it's just how these things go in wrestling. It's like it's all entertainment, so you can just say shit and it doesn't matter.
and I really don't mind that, even like, you know, talking about in the politics side of things, and like Donald Trump took that from wrestling. I don't really mind him inflating things that much, but I think like that tariff thing is just so bizarre. Like they're already like, America's like one of the biggest superpowers in the world, and for them they act as if
they're hard done by.
I just don't understand it. You know, it's so bizarre. But whenever you come from that idea that, oh yeah, he's taking a lot of these sort of the playbook of wrestling, you know, where you're just throwing stuff
everything
out there.
Makes sense. Yeah, everything makes sense. I've never been confused by Donald Trump. I've not once been confused, because I just see him as like, oh, this is how wrestling works. It's just madness, and it's okay. Look at how it goes. Yeah, I expect it to be madness.
I'm not sure if it's the best way to run a country, but
not at all.
But certainly,
I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I'm entertained by it.
And that's the thing, that the thing that, because like obviously my wife's American. Yeah. You know, it's so entertaining to the rest of the world that it doesn't affect it directly. So it's not like, we can talk for days on end about the knock-on effects of like what happens with those tariffs to people who work in the whiskey factories down south, and whatever. We can talk till their faces blue, but like Jimbo across the street there isn't going to be affected by it in any meaningful way that he recognizes, at least. But they're so entertaining that all people want to talk to her about is Donald Trump. Every single person. What do you think of Trump? They're just like dying to hear her answer.
I know. That must be so annoying.
But just like you, she doesn't really have any like mad strong feelings. She's like, she doesn't live there anymore. Like, she has family there and she cares about them. But she tries to like insulate herself a little bit from it, because otherwise she can go down a very deep rabbit hole and get like, she's protecting her own feelings, so to speak. And everybody, every day, what do you think about Trump? What do you think about Trump? It's like, it's so frustrating. Yeah. People ask me, what do you think about Trump?
I think the hardest thing is probably that both sides have quite convincing arguments. Like, the people who think that Trump is terrible and he's going to destroy the world, I see the convincing argument in that. And, he dropped like the biggest non-nuclear bomb ever. He dropped it while like eating a piece of cake with the fucking the ruler of China. It's just like, drop a bomb on fucking civilians. He's certainly not a good guy, but also the people in America who are like, well, he's putting America first. He is totally putting America first. So if that's what you want, then I totally understand that.
And I can see, especially from it's people like, and people are going to dispute this in a big way, and this is such a nuance here, but I can see from a blue collar, I'm not even saying uneducated or something, I'm saying like, a regular Joe Blogs that doesn't, like, all you see in politics, same here, especially in the UK, especially in Ireland, like, there's a very specific person who's a politician.
Yes.
And they all dress the same for the most part. There's outliers, but they're seen as crazy and outliers. They all talk the same. There's a polished way of talking. They all, debate the same and argue the same, even if they have different points. It's a thing. It's it's a politician is a thing. You know what I mean? It's not a type of person, but it's a job.
It definitely is a type of person.
It's a type of person too, and it's the same in America. It's always been that. So I can see entirely the appeal of some absolute nut job. Like, regardless, I'm not saying he's a nut, but I'm saying the absolute polar opposite of this. Just all of a sudden being like in charge of the world in some ways. Do you know what I mean? But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, I can see the appeal of that, because like, you've just been bored and stiff people for such a long time. And like, politician does this, politician do that.
I don't think you can blame people for that either, because the politicians have, like, they've made Donald Trump. Like, if you just had genuine people that were doing things in the best interest of the common people, Donald Trump never would have got in office.
My
it's the same over here. Like, people are talking, fucking Conor McGregor might run for president. There's some people that are like, I would vote for him. Like,
that's just madness. Why would you vote for him?
How bad does it need to be that you would vote for, like, because he doesn't know anything about running a company. People go, he's a businessman and he made himself. He's a self-made man.
No, he's not. He's the gimmick of a business. He's not the business itself.
Yeah.
He's the mascot.
And to be honest, if there was someone with a lot of similar ideals of running things for the people, because like, politicians really run the country for themselves.
Well, the thing is that I don't think it's possible. I think the people that you want to be running the country and the people that I want to be running the country are
people who don't want to be politicians.
Or people who don't who want to mind their people like us. Like, I'm not saying I want me to run the country. That's a terrible idea. Yeah. But I'm saying
people like us.
People like us, but we just want to do our own thing and just like leave us alone. Let us do our own thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'll abide by laws 99% of the time, but like, just let us leave us alone. Do you know what I mean? And we don't want, like, those people, the people who go into that level of politics and are never ever
power and
selfless.
Control,
it's impossible to be selfless. It's impossible to be selfless when you have that amount of power. It's just not. It's not possible.
They're all millionaires as well.
Exactly, and that's another element of like people will be like, these corrupt politicians, everybody's corrupt, and like, yeah, you can see it that way. I get like why you'd think that, but like, at the same time, it doesn't happen overnight where somebody comes to the door and is like, here's £1 million, now you're going to be doing what I tell you. It doesn't work like that. It's like, You get an extra wee bit of money here. You get an extra wee bit of money there, and it all builds up over time, and you don't realize it happening, and then you become that person, and you just like, it's a whole thing. It's very human nature.
And then you're working to protect your own interests.
Exactly.
It's not
and now you have something that you need to like you have a lifestyle and a way of living that you rely on. Like, I get it. I get why people end up doing this and why it ends up that way. I understand it inherently. It's not malicious. It's incompetence really at best. Not incompetence necessarily, but it's not malicious. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But by the same token, it exists, it happens, and it shouldn't. And that's that. But that's what politics is. And if we just accept that and move on, it would be a lot easier. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of going at these parts of the thing where there's the constants of politics. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try and change it. I'm saying there's many other ways to debate and discuss what we can do better as people to overthrow that and to stop that, as opposed to just saying it and whinging about it. It's that we've talked about this before. The reason I don't like politics, the reason I don't like talking about anything soapboxy is that I just hate people talking about things that weren't going to do anything about it. And this is a very, very like whatever I am as a personality way. I'm not going to whinge to you about something if I can't fix it. I'm just going to, if I whinge to you because I have an idea in my head, I'm going to fix it that way. Yeah. Or if I'm planning to fix it, or here's what I've got a solution. So now, if I haven't got a solution and it's just the way things are, I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it again or think about it anymore.
I understand what you mean. Like it's kind of like a stoicism viewpoint on it. It's like, right, well, if we can't change it, there's no point in getting annoyed about it.
Exactly.
So I get what you mean, but also I think sometimes you got to kind of kick ideas around a bit.
Oh, I love kicking ideas around.
Yeah,
so but I don't have to be annoyed to do that.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that people want to talk about politics, because it does affect everybody. And it is something that ultimately the average person just can't change. And I don't even vote anymore, because it's like every time that I've gone and voted and I thought, oh yeah, we've made some kind of big change, or we got this person in who's going to shake things up, and then they just float into the background and everything stays the way it is.
Yep.
Or people just shut down the government over here, which has happened several times, and nothing ever changes. And I think I've become quite disillusioned by the whole thing. Well, and a lot of people have. And I think that's probably why they're voting for the likes of Trump. And they're like, well, at least, I might not agree with him, or I might not like him as a person,
but he's shaking things up.
I kind of get it. I kind of get that.
I can see that.
The Department of Government Efficiency, the Doge. Like,
I'm still cringing at the fact that it's called Doge.
That is
so
very,
mean. Like, it's so
very, very cringy.
It's so cringe. Like
Elon Musk is very Asperger's, isn't he? So you understand why. Like, you see about him telling lies about being the number one Diablo player in the world or something.
I never heard that. No. Do you mean Diablo the game or the circus thing?
No, that would be so much better.
That's what I thought you meant. He's just in the Oval Office there, throwing it up in the
the video game. He was it's like telling lies about how good he is at video games. It's like, you don't need to tell lies, man. You've got all these fucking companies. You're the richest man in the world.
Nobody cares.
You don't need to lie about being good at video games.
Surely he hasn't got enough time to be good at Diablo.
You can't have enough time. I know what it's like if I try and play online against a fucking 12-year-old. I get my ass handed to me.
I play Call of Duty a lot enough. Like it's like my one guilty pleasure of a game that I play a lot. Yeah. And as soon as I start playing online, I just get absolutely creamed. Every single time, I'm useless. I'm the worst person to play. But I think I'm quite good. Yeah. I'm at the best of my ability.
You don't have 15 hours a day to put on this.
Exactly. I touch grass.
You don't have it you don't have it down to the millisecond. There are people who know the code of the game.
Yeah.
They know what they can do and what they can't do.
That's just not fun
Elon
anymore.
Musk doesn't have the fucking time.
No.
Elon Musk doesn't have the time to be the best at a game in the world. He just fucking doesn't. He's a liar.
Unless it was like Tetris. Or not, maybe not even. Let's even go a little more.
He doesn't have the time.
I'm saying something that was old enough that he
for his whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now he's I can get. I would believe that.
No.
I could believe that, but not like Diablo.
I think the only way that he could possibly be the best at it is if he has a crack team that he has employed, and he is saying that Even then,
Even then, yeah.
I'm thinking of like, people having them in some like hyperbolic chamber, like doing, like,
Peak gamer chamber.
it just can't be done. He can't be the best gamer in the world. He doesn't have the time. He's got too much
Why you
shit
bring
going
that
on.
up? This is the thing I don't understand. Is
That's
like
what I
there's
mean.
absolutely no reason to bring that up.
No.
Like it's the same with Trump. Same with Hulk Hogan is another great. He
they've
just brings
done
things
enough.
up that have no relevance. Nobody cares. Like Hulk Hogan is one of the biggest name brand people of all time,
World famous, multi-millionaire,
and he just says
left
the most
legacy.
like. There's
Why say that you were the bassist?
There's another one of those lies that he got Simon Cowell's career off the ground or something mad like this, and Michael Jackson was at WrestleMania or at SummerSlam and whatever, and Michael Jackson wasn't anywhere near England at that point. It was like all these mad things that he just makes up. He just throws shit at the wall. I don't get it.
It's so bizarre, and I don't know if it's like a narcissism thing, where no matter what you've done, you have to say that you've done more. Like, I don't know if that's it, but like, there are plenty of very successful people, and obviously, like, that's 3 people that are like 3 of the most successful, well-known people
of all
on
time.
the planet of all time.
Yeah,
and they're just
for very different reasons as well.
And they're all just lying about stuff that doesn't matter. All right, well, we'll leave it there then.
We'll leave it there.